Travis Bandstra, you are the new Director of Economic Development, or Economic Development Director here in the village of Lansing. First of all, I guess the question for we who have been part of Lansing for some time is, who's Travis Bandstra? Who are you? Where'd you come from?
I've been in Chicagoland now since about 2002, originally from the state of Iowa, from south central Iowa, from the town of Pella. So if you've seen Pella windows around, that's how Pella's, the namesake of the town. But lived in the southwest side really the whole time that I've been in Chicagoland. And now most recently came from working at Trinity Christian College, which is in the southwest suburbs, and now been on board here at the village for a few months.
Now, you mentioned in your first summary interview that you most recently have worked for Trinity College. That's Trinity Deerfield or Trinity Palos Heights?
Palos Heights.
Was that in the economic or financial world? Talk a little bit about your work with
Sure.
Trinity.
It was constituent relations, so fundraising, alumni relations work. It's really, really focused on building relationships for the institution, which I think is something that parallels well to what I'll be doing here for the village.
What led you to go from what you were doing in more of a, I'm going to call it a public relations or development role
Sure.
with a college, to working with a village like this?
Sure. Well, for me, it was always what I was pursuing. I also have a background doing real estate work, corporate relocation, and appraisal work. So I'm familiar with the public sphere. I actually, while I was working at Trinity, was pursuing a master's in public administration degree at Northwestern University, which is really one of the other essential pieces that a lot of governments are looking for to come and do a role like this. So that was the track that I was looking to head on, and I was really just looking for the right opportunity, the right municipality to jump on board at, and Lansing for me was that opportunity. So for me, this was the career path I've always been interested in, and now for me, I'm just excited for the opportunity to put it in practice.
We've spoken with the village administrator and the mayor who talk about the process and their enthusiasm for the new role that, or the new person that is in this role. You have big shoes to fill with taking the place of or stepping in for Christy De Laurentiis, who had many years of experience both in the Chicagoland region as well as doing what she was doing. What do you think you are uniquely bringing, Travis, aside from, let's say, your age and coming from non-municipal into kind of a municipal form of administration? Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, I think one of the main reasons that the village administration wanted to bring me on was to just be that liaison to the business community here in town. They're really looking for someone who can just be that energetic, that friendly person who can just interface with business owners in town, but also who can, be comfortable bringing new businesses to town and having those conversations and doing recruiting, and really just someone who can, keep tabs on everything that's going on in town.
You have not lived in Lansing up until now. Where have you been residing?
Sure. We currently live in Palos Hills, so I was going to say in the Palos area, because everyone knows there's a number of towns that start with Palos kind of all by each other. But so right now I'm driving short distance here to work, but we're looking forward to moving to town here hopefully this summer as soon as we can move on from our house that we have there.
Well, that's a big challenge for a family now to decide to sell a home, pack up, and move to a new community. But you're a young family, so are you excited about that? Your wife supportive of this whole new transition down to the south side?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, the allure, part of the allure in coming here was that we're very familiar with the area. Even though we've never lived here, we know a number of folks, whether just through personal relationships or through my work in previous jobs. We know a number of folks who live in this area and have spent time down here. And so it's a lot easier to come to a place, obviously, that you have familiarity with, and that we were, so I think we're definitely looking forward to the move. And I think, too, having the chance to work for the village really lends itself better to us really feeling to be a part of the community. I think which is something we're really looking forward to, because that's what I'd always heard about Lansing, was just that great sense of community, and I think we're looking forward to that.
So you begin with people relationships, but now as a representative of the village, as part of the resource the village is using to figure out its future, you have to take a real professional and, let's say, a public relations side to the village.
Sure.
So talk about Lansing from a professional perspective. As you look at Lansing, thinking about its potential for economic development, how you will represent not only the village outside, but as you talk with the administration, the businesses, and the community, how do you look at Lansing coming in now?
For me, it's an easy sell because there's so much good here and so much great potential. And what I mean by that is, one of the things I was analyzing as I considered coming to Lansing was, is it realistic to do economic development? Obviously, that's really important, that you're not coming to a position that you feel like there's really no hope for what you're going to do, or you're just going to fail at what
Sure,
you're
and there
doing.
are some folks, I suppose, who would look at it a mature community,
Sure.
meaning in terms of its history. We don't have a lot of land other than
Right.
some of the airport where we're going to boom like some of the brand new communities. So that assessment is probably there. How do you counteract that?
Well, so to continue on with sort of my thinking on the potential for Lansing is that what you have is a lot of, it's location. You have the accessibility that a lot of communities dream of right off the interstate. You have a major corridor of Torrance Avenue that will continue to be a place that large businesses are interested in locating in from a retail restaurant perspective. And then you have the downtown, the traditional downtown, which is, a model that municipalities are trying to recreate from nothing. Everyone knows that.
And we still have it.
Yeah, and we have it. And so that's just a huge thing. And then having the airport and trying to grow that is, again, another asset that most communities don't have. So for me, I think there's a great potential to grow even more and do more economic development with those three assets primarily in mind.
When you talk about a community, worldwide or nationwide, location has something to do with it, facilities and what businesses are there, but then the question becomes, what are the people like? As you have encountered Lansing now, in terms of its people, talk about that experience.
Sure. Well, I think your point is valid because it's easy for businesses, particularly national businesses, to just strictly look at numbers and look at location. And so it's our job to sell the village and sort of that fabric of the community. Again, part of the reason I was excited to join the team here was just my own impressions of the level of professionalism of all of the staff that I'd interacted with, and just the welcoming feel you get, that I've felt already just coming into town. I think I've met a lot of people who are wanting to invest in Lansing, and I think that's the kind of message that we can then turn around and sell to people who want to potentially locate in town.
What are the priorities that were placed on your desk and that you're really spending most of your time thinking about or planning right now in economic development here in Lansing?
Well, on the most basic level, one of the things we're most focused on, especially initially, is creating an inventory of all of the properties that are in transition in town. So whether it's actively for sale, vacant, or we just know that it may be down the line for whatever reason, what we're focused on is trying to collect those, become familiar with them ourselves and the owners and the brokers who are working with those properties, and then actually create an online inventory that prospective developers or business owners can go through and access as they're looking for a place to locate. And I think that's something that the most sophisticated municipalities are doing, and it's something that we're very capable of doing and that we think will help our efforts.
Okay, well, let's talk turkey about that, because that was some very professional words there. Are you just looking for old houses that can be torn down and you can put businesses there?
Sure.
Or are you saying you're looking at where are the business potentials that were there that need to be restored? Should the residents be afraid that the village is just looking to say, hey, we want to see how many houses we can get rid of so we can put some businesses here in Lansing?
Sure. Well, I'm only talking about commercial or industrial properties. Obviously, that's the focus for my work in economic development, is focused on the commercial corridors, Torrance Ridge, and obviously a few other places as well, Bernice Road. I think our other goal is to be thinking strategically along those lines in terms of, obviously, like you said, with Lansing being more of a mature community, you have, some older buildings in some of the commercial corridors that may be able to lend themselves to new projects or to redevelopment. And so I think what one of our goals that's been given to me is to use whatever power we have to be thinking strategically as we do redevelopment. So not just letting things happen on their own, but to be proactive and to try and think about how can we work together with property owners to maybe put something together that's even bigger and that's going to get people in town excited.
You've begun the process and probably don't have it all complete of this inventory you discussed, but you've also been engaged with outside potential businesses or people taking a look at Lansing. How are they responding? Is Lansing a community that looks like it's a great place to develop other than just that, let's say, Torrance and highway corridor where the Walmart's going to be?
Sure. Well, when you're talking from a national retailer perspective, they're definitely focused more on a Torrance Avenue corridor. And it's often the local businesses that are going to be more focused in like a traditional downtown. Not that there won't be national retailers there as well. But I think that both have responded well. I think one of the exciting things for me to come on board at this time is that you have the Walmart project happening right at the corner of Torrance Avenue and the Expressway. And that's going to be a key cog in revitalizing what was really kind of become a dormant area there, because that's the kind of anchor that's really, I think our hope is that we feel strongly that you'll see a lot of creep kind of up down Torrance Avenue once that project's in place, as businesses want to locate in that area, and that
would include more local or regional businesses that say, hey, here's a significant thing happening in Lansing.
Absolutely.
We want to be part of it.
Absolutely.
So should the local businesses here in Lansing feel threatened by that? Should they feel as if, well, all the attention is going to be there and I'm over on Ridge Road or I'm in some other more remote corner of Lansing and I'm going to be neglected?
I sure hope not, because I think you asked about goals, and the third goal I wanted to mention to you was my focus is really just on building those relationships with our business owners, regardless of where their location is or their size. And I think that the Ridge Road downtown is also going to be just as important as anything going on at Torrance Avenue. And whether it's Burnham Avenue, Torrance Avenue further south, wherever it may be, we're going to be working with property owners and business owners in those areas as well.
What is, in your opinion, the economic state of the village of Lansing right now?
It's exciting to come on board as there's already some momentum that's taking place. So you have, like I said, the Walmart project. You have, things happening at the corner of Ridge Road and Torrance with an O'Reilly's and hopefully some future development going on there. You have Visible Music College opening downtown. We have some streetscape improvements in the works. The plazas that's going to be redeveloped next year downtown. So I think for me, it's exciting to come on board as all those things are happening. Again, kind of going back to the idea that it's realistic for progress to be happening. But at the same time, as we've been talking about, there's going to be challenges with some of the aging infrastructure that's here. And so it'll be our job to be thinking really proactively and strategically about how we can work with folks that are here and folks that are interested in coming here to figure out a new plan for that.
Well said, but let me ask you both as a resident and as a potential business coming into town. I ask you this question. Sir, what is the economic state of the village of Lansing? One sentence.
One sentence? We're headed in the right direction.